Welcome, everyone, to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me here, as always, is our NHL analyst and expert, the grumpy old man. They say there's no shame to his game because he's always the same.
That's me.
Grump, it's been a while. It's been a while, Grump, and we're back on the airwaves again. How are you, Grump?
Good. Nothing's happened, though. So it's not like there's any earth-shattering news that we missed.
We've missed so much, Grumpy, in the Islanders verse. I'll tell you.
Sorry. Two things have happened. They have
signed back Simon Holmstrom and Oliver Wahlstrom.
Yes.
Two huge events that are going to have massive impacts on the team this season. Watch out, ladies and gents. But for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. This is an All Islanders podcast that takes place every single Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, you'll see, right, this is one to where it went on a little bit earlier on that side, but we're trying to get the show started earlier these days on that side. But you know, if you're new to the channel, we welcome you here with open arms. You know, and you like the content. If you like the content that we produce, we go ahead and invite you to subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss out on any of the future content. And also, if you like the video, apparently that helps the algorithm. If you were a person who liked to watch the live streams on Twitter, that looks like it is going to be temporarily going away for us. It's a going away party. See you later, Twitter. You have to have premium Twitter in order to continue to broadcast live on there. So I'm not sure we're going to do that. Grumpy and the powers that be, we'll have to talk. But yes, this is an All Islanders podcast. You know, even in the off season, we're going to be talking about that. I know that there will be no show next week. Next Saturday, there will be no Islanders podcast. But, you know, we're in the dog days of summer. Not all that much is going on. You know, going forward after I feel like this next little week off, we'll be having more guests on the show. It's going to be more of like I guess, an open and free wielding of ideas, grumpy old man. But you know, because we're interested, right? I think the biggest question this offseason still will be and should be, did the Islanders do enough?
No.
Or are the Islanders a contender for the Stanley Cup,
No.
right? I think there's going to be sections of the fan base who absolutely believe that answer is a yes.
They're wrong.
We're in the opposite section.
They're wrong. I will be proven right once again. Every single year. I don't know, why do people ever doubt me? I don't understand. You think after the prognosticators trying to predict, oh, the Islanders are going to do this, they're going to do that. I tell you what they're going to do, and guess what? They do exactly what I say. Off-season's over. Off-season's over. It's over. Over. The off-season is over.
You're not wrong.
Nothing is going to happen. The Islanders will be contending for the 8th playoff spot. That is it right now. They will not. If they make the playoffs, they'll get beat in the first round. There you go. Let's get right to next off season. What could we do next year? Because this next season is over already. Already over. Done. Buried. Done. Finished.
Yeah.
No shot.
The crazy thing is when you start to look even further down the line, next year there's not much room for optimism. But again, like I'm not trying to take us down that area, or Grump wants to take us immediately. More the question is that we're going to have to ask is, we did improve, maybe, perhaps, right? I think that Anthony Duclair is a better, I think that has the potential to be the best first line we've seen the Islanders have in years, perhaps. I mean, like
because you've been playing without a left wing for what, 5-6 years? I mean,
under Lou Lamoriello, they've never been able to address. It was originally both wingers were hideous on the first line, and then it was okay. We brought in Bo Horvat and we kicked Matt Barzal out to wing, and that was just okay. We're playing with two forwards on a line, and whatever other scrap heap we could pull off, the pile to play the left wing. And now we've got an Anthony Duclair who, has played first line minutes, who has been successful, who is a guy who can pot, the puck in the back of the net and put the puck in the back of the net. So, that's one of those to where I think, right, he's a step up from probably what we've had there recently. And I think, again, this is probably the best first line we've had, at least under Lou Lamoriello during his time here.
Okay, that's fine. Where's it going to get you? Maybe qualifying for the 8th playoff spot and getting rolled in the first round. Been there, done that. Okay, Anthony Duclair is not a savior. Is he better than what we had? Yeah. I didn't think his contract was egregious. Not a whole lot of money, not a ridiculous amount of term, but he's not that great a player. Just isn't. Am I glad he's on the team? Sure, compared to what we had, but it's not enough to put the Islanders over the top. I just say it's just not enough. And we knew they weren't going to do anything. The front office is not creative enough or ingenious enough to make certain moves. They're just not. That's where we sit. Until the old man gets moved out, gets bounced out, this is what you're going to see year in, year out. Same old, same old. Shampoo Lou. Wash, rinse, repeat. That's it.
Yeah. It's the other item too that's worth mentioning here is, again, Grumpy. You want to bring us down the I don't know, Grump. At least, here's the thing, right?
The path to reality?
No, it's not the path to reality. We know the path to reality. We know what reality is. We've talked about this for years. I mean, like, you've been on the train much, much longer, right? Maybe you're the instructor or whatever. The engineer.
I'm the OG of hockey realism.
Yeah, the OG of hockey realism. That's right. That's true. That being said, the only hope we have is that he's being phased out, right? We've talked about that before. I don't think there's anybody. There are sections of the fan base who will think that this team is good enough to compete. There are sections of the fan base who believe all you have to do is get into the postseason in order to have a legitimate shot to win the Stanley Cup. And as foolhardy and as, happy and jovial as maybe that thought is, it's not the likely scenario, right? Like when the Florida Panthers won, where the Florida Panthers like, hey, this year we barely scrapped into the postseason. You'll say, oh, well, last year the Florida Panthers barely scrapped their way into the postseason and they went ahead and lost in the Stanley Cup Finals. Well, again, there's some context to add around that too. So they won the President's Trophy the year before. They won the President's Trophy the year before. They had a new coach, and you talk about, oh, new coach. It took them maybe a while to get used to Paul Maurice. They struggled, but then the year after, right? They were a dominant team this year too. So if you look at the last 3 years and you're looking at that in an isolated scenario, well, hell, 2 of those 3 years, they were absolutely dominant in the regular season. And 1 year they had an outlier where they didn't play very well.
They also did a system change when they moved out Huberdeau and Uyghur and brought in Matt Tkachuk.
Sure.
I mean, it takes time they went total 180 from what they were doing previously. They became a scrappy, gritty team that played really good defense, is what they've done the last year and a half, where before that they were a high-flying team. And it only took, 6 months, not even 4 months, for them to turn that from the high flying team that they had that didn't play very limited defense to a team that was really good defensively. It didn't take them that long, but it was a transition, and they did have a new coach. I just want to say I like, Edmonton. I was dumping on them last year. I didn't think they were good enough. I think they're a legit contender for a Stanley Cup next year with the moves they've made this offseason. Also, Ken Holland left, which I thought would create a hole for them. But they brought in Stan Bowman, who was reinstated by the NHL from the Chicago Blackhawks scandal of just a few years ago. He is back, and he got a job. He's the new GM of Edmonton. I think that's a good move for Edmonton. Edmonton right now, I'd say that they
did a fantastic job this offseason.
And I think they should be the favorites to win the Cup next year. Absolutely, they should be.
They do have the best player that's ever played hockey. Most skilled.
They have a lot of good players on the team. They got a lot of good players.
They do that too. They've got that too.
And the moves they made, I like what they did. They solidified their secondary scoring. Guys who play a little bit better, have a little bit better defensive acumen, which will help the team. I think they had a fantastic offseason.
Yeah. I like the move for Matthew Savoy for them too. Essentially bring in a guy who's a very high talented player, young player, who has ability and potential, just adds more depth to that team and on a cost controlled basis as well. And really what they did is they got rid of a third line forward in order to do that, a bottom six forward for that piece. And, that's a guy where, okay, you can add guys who are grit players, at the trade deadline, as all teams do. You can add, just like Edmonton did, your Adam Henrique at the trade deadline.
Dime a dozen. They were dime a dozen.
Exactly. You can't add highly skilled players. And so you roll the dice on something like that. That's something, again, if the Islanders had the ability to do, I would love to see the Islanders do something like that. But it is what it is. Talking Islanders specifically, we did sign back Simon Holmstrom and Oliver Wahlstrom.
Whoopie-doop. Who cares? It
does put
Wahlstrom's never going to pan out for the Islanders. Not going to have. They've managed to kill him, as they do with a lot of their picks. And Simon Holmstrom, I don't think Patrick Waugh likes him.
Yeah,
it's just that simple. I don't think he likes him or Engvall, to be honest with you.
And I think there's probably reason not to like.
I couldn't care less.
Sorry, the cat's over here. I think there's reasons, not to like, Engvall. I think there's reasons not to like Wahlstrom at this point. But when it comes down to it, the coach's job is how do I go ahead and assemble the best team possible and maximize the performance of my players. I'm just not sure you're going to see any sort of maximizing of a guy like Oliver Wahlstrom, Simon Holmstrom, Pierre Engvall, any of those type of guys under Patrick Waugh. Also worth mentioning, they're over the cap right now. The way I looked at this signing for Wahlstrom is essentially, hey, you have a prove-it deal, and they could just go ahead and send him down to Bridgeport and waive him, or just try to cut him at that point if he isn't paying out. I mean, because right now they're going to be over the amount of roster spots. I believe they're over. I think the cap hit. They're over by the cap by $1 million or something like that. And it's either they're going to say, oh, we're sending Saplakov down to minors, or we're going to go ahead and I don't think they do that, right? Because he'd go ahead and bolt back to the K, I would assume. So I looked at that deal as, hey, you have spring training and camp to prove that you belong and you should beat this other kid out. And if you don't do that, you're pretty much done with the organization. That's the way I looked at it.
They can send down Fashing. I think he's on it. Is he on a one-way deal?
One way.
Okay. But I mean, they can send Wahlstrom down. They can send Holmstrom back down.
Holmstrom's on a one-way deal.
Okay. But if you send them down,
the only person they could send down is Saplakov, and they won't do that unless they're planning on sending him back to the K.
Okay.
It does. Here's the thing: it doesn't matter, even worth discussing it. To be quite frank with you, because in all likelihood, neither of those players are making any sort of impact on our team next year.
Yeah, I'm just talking about getting underneath the salary cap.
Yeah, you're either going to be sending down Saplakov or Wahlstrom. If you send down Saplakov, he goes back to the K. He says, "See you later."
How does Holmstrom not have more years of option? Wahlstrom's been there longer than him.
He signed a 1-year, one-way deal. He denied a deal with more cash, which was a two-way contract to stay one way and get paid less dollars per the actual cap, so they couldn't waive him down for free like they had in the past. So Holmstrom has a one-way contract.
So what if he gets picked up? Who cares? If somebody picks him up off waivers, who cares?
Yeah, they're not going to do that. They're not going to waive him over a guy like Wallstrom, right? Let's just be honest about it. Wallstrom was the guy who never played any minutes last year, Grump. They're not going to say, the guy who probably played more, we're gonna pick the first option to waive him instead of a guy like Wallstrom who played 20 games last year.
So Holmstrom has a two-way deal.
One-way contract, Grumpy, please. The TV man, one-way contract.
What the fuck, bro? What the fuck? Holmstrom has the same deal as fucking Wallstrom, right? They can send either fucking guy down.
Do you think they're sending Holmstrom down?
Well, I think they could send either one down. They could send either one down. You're just saying only one guy's possibly sent down, and you don't give me an explanation of why.
Explain why you think they would send Holmstrom down over Wallstrom.
Because he doesn't like Holmstrom. What's the difference?
He likes Wallstrom so much that he never played Wallstrom. He never broke the bench. That means a lot. That speaks to a lot. That's how much he loved Wallstrom. Please, Wallstrom didn't play. How many games did Wallstrom play last year? And how many did he play in the playoffs?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
He can send anyone down he wants. If everyone has one-way deals, he can send down anyone he wants. Saplakov's going to make the team.
I think so too.
So they can send if Wallstrom or Holmstrom, he can send them both down if he wants to keep fashing. He can send both those guys down. And if somebody picks him up, somebody picks him up. What we do, it doesn't matter. They both suck.
It's going to be Holmstrom's the guy who's the odd man out. They already lost. Remember, out of that scenario we talked about 2 weeks ago, maybe you forgot, we already mentioned Ruslan Ishikov, right? There was 2 spots for 4 guys between Ruslan and Ishikov.
That's what you're saying. That's what you said.
There were 2 spots. There were 2 spots for 4 guys based off of our active roster, Grump. And at that time period, it was Ruslan Ishikov. It was Hudson Fashing. It was Simon Holmstrom. I'm sorry, Simon Holmstrom. We already kind of equated out that Ruslan was going to be gone, right? So he wasn't going to be on that team. And so it's the Flackoff and the Wallstrom on that side. We've already lost Ruslan Ishikov. We're in a spot to where we're going to have one more player that has to be waived down. It's either going to be, I would assume it's probably going to be Wallstrom, despite the contract that he signed.
He makes more money. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it could be Holmstrom. It could be anyone. Just to say that they're not going to send him down, you don't give a reason why. It could be any of those guys.
Wallstrom will not be playing in a top
Holmstrom. He doesn't like Holmstrom.
Wallstrom will not be playing in a top 6 role. Agreed?
Who knows?
You think Wallstrom out of camp is playing in a top 6 role?
No idea. I don't know.
Why don't we try to go ahead and play this through then? So you think he's going to play in a top 6 role?
I think he'll get a shot in training camp. Why would he not?
Do you think Wallstrom coming out of training camp is in a top 6 role on this team?
He could be.
No, I'm not asking you, could he be? Okay, Phil's facts. Is Wallstrom going to be a top 6er out of training camp? Do you think so? Yes or no?
He could be.
Phil, I don't understand why you're being so pedantic about this. I'm asking you a very simple question. Do you think he will be?
Yeah, I'll say yes. I think he will be.
Oh, okay, so you think Oliver Wallstrom's going to be a top 6 guy coming out of training camp?
Yeah.
Why did you think?
I think he's going to make opening night.
Why did you think he didn't play?
I think he's going to play opening night.
Why do you think he didn't play? Why do you think he didn't play any time last year? Is there a reason for that, you think?
I don't know. Maybe he's still, he wasn't fully recovered from the knee injury.
Yeah, no, he played multiple times at multiple different spurts, so that doesn't really check out. I mean,
I don't know. All I know is that Simon Holmstrom was a healthy scratch. He doesn't like the
and so was Oliver Wallstrom. So was Oliver Wallstrom.
And so was Pierre Engvall. Right? They're all healthy.
Yeah, okay.
Scratches.
How many games?
Again, I think the longer that it goes, what you're going to see is he doesn't like the Swedish guys. It's Patrick Waugh's team. It's not Lou Lamoriello's team anymore. It's not Lou Lamoriello's team. Absolutely not. It's Patty Waugh's team. So he's going to do
how many games? How many games do you think Oliver Wallstrom played in the months of March, April, and May of this year? Those 3 months. How many games do you think he played total?
I don't know, 10, if that.
One.
Not many.
One game in the last 3 months of the year.
Okay, but
that's the guy who's in the top 6. Okay. Please fucking top.
He came in. Patrick Waugh came in, and he was just played with the hand that was dealt him. And at the end of the year, the savior, Simon Holmstrom, was a healthy scratch, or the big free agent re-signee.
He played more games than Wallstrom by
scratch.
a handful at the end of the season. I don't understand.
It doesn't matter. They're both healthy scratches. He's going to give Oliver Wallstrom a shot. I think he'll give him a shot in training camp. That's all I'm saying. And it'll be up to Wallstrom to how he plays.
No, yeah, you just no. What you actually said was he was going to make the top 6. Is what you said.
What I said was he has a chance. That's what I said, and you pressed me. He has a chance. He has a chance.
Just say no. I don't think he's going to make the top 6. You could say that because you don't want to concede this point that he's going to be the guy who gets the odd man out treatment.
Here's one thing I can tell you: it's not going to. Pierre Engvall and Simon Holmstrom have zero shot of being top 6 players.
It's okay. The reason I'm asking you about a top 6 is because Wallstrom is not a guy who's going to be playing the bottom 6 for Patrick Waugh.
Could be top 6. He certainly has more offensive ability than either one of those two guys.
Oh my God!
Simon Holmstrom and Pierre Engvall don't have the offensive upside as Oliver Wallstrom does.
Cool. So in this scenario, that you've got to have Wallstrom on his off wing on his left-hand side, and a guy who played one game in the last 3 months of the season because he was a healthy scratch every single game except once in the last 3 months of the season is going to perform so well in training camp in your thought process that he's going to win a spot in the top 6. This is what I mean, dude. I'm like, yikes. I just think Wallstrom's going to be the odd man out.
He might be, but he might not be.
Oh, fuck.
I mean, it could very easily. It's not going to be Engvall. Engvall will be on the roster. I think it's going to be between Holmstrom and Wallstrom. Those are the two guys it's going to be between. Who gets that last spot? And Fashing. You want to throw Fashing in there too.
Yeah. So as much as, Holmstrom going to be out, he still played 3 of the playoff games.
All right. And you're not signing. They're not. I mean, it's pretty much a given. We're not signing back Matt Martin or Cal Clutterbuck now, right?
I'd say yes. Not signing those guys back.
Well, then there you go. I mean,
you still have one guy. You still got one guy in this scenario that will not be able to make the roster unless there's an injury. It's going to be Wallstrom.
It's going to be the Wallstrom, Holmstrom, or Fashing. It's going to be one of those 3 will be the odd man out. That's what's going to happen. And if it has no bearing on the salary cap, which is how this whole thing started, it could be any one of them. If they all are on one-way deals, it doesn't matter. One guy, and if somebody gets picked up off waivers, so be it. It doesn't matter towards the salary cap.
Oh man, it's just as simple. Wallstrom's a guy who was the healthy scratch for, I don't know, the last 3 months of the season. He's going to be the guy probably coming into camp that will be the guy who is afforded less rope and less string on that side, just because that's what it showed at the end of last year. He's a guy who only can play if he could do anything in a top 6 role. He's a guy who's not going to be a bottom 6er. Simple as that. And, the team is going to, you look at the other player personnel profiles. Simon Holmstrom's a bottom 6er. Hudson Fashing's a bottom 6er. Wallstrom is a guy who just doesn't fit in that. He just won't be on the team.
Well, maybe Siplikov isn't ready to play in a top 6 role. You ever think that could be an option also? Maybe all that KHL, that 1 year in the KHL when he was great, doesn't translate to being a top 6 player in the NHL right away. So that's how Wallstrom could get a spot on the second line. And there's a possibility. I think that Patrick Waugh is going to give everybody a clean slate going into this year, particularly the guys who didn't, Wallstrom, who wasn't playing before he got there and didn't play after he got there.
That's not true.
Yeah, it is true.
That's not true.
He was not playing every night.
Wallstrom went from a time period. When did Patrick Waugh take over?
Halfway through the season.
You know the date? It was that Nashville game. That Nashville game, I believe, which was the 13th. Yes, which was in January, right? I'll pull it up and I'll prove you wrong. Don't worry. Because January is about halfway through the season. But I'll pull you up, I'll prove you wrong. He played a significant amount of games in a row after Patrick Waugh was listed the head coach, and he didn't do anything with it. He had 1 point. He had 1 point.
He played one game for him. You just said before he played one game for Patrick Waugh.
No, my God. I said in the months of March, April, and May, he played one game. Dude, the entire second half of the season, the entire time period
after a lot of games under Patrick Waugh, he absolutely did not.
Okay, gotcha. So just to prove you wrong on that again, because like maybe your memory is not remembering right, and that's fine. We're looking here, right? Oliver Wahlstrom, here it is, right? He was playing. He was playing. Okay, gotcha. January playing. February playing. Up February 24th. Not
There you
assuming
go.
until April 5th, April
So he
7th.
didn't play it all in March. Not at all in March.
And he played one game in April, and then he didn't play any of the games in May in the postseason time period.
Okay, I
That's
don't know
correct.
exactly. But Patrick Waugh took over in what game? What game did he take over? Game 43?
He took over right here, I think, a game January 13th. But I'll pull the exact game he took
I don't
over.
know.
Don't worry, I'll pull the exact game just to show you that you're wrong and you're misremembering things. That's fine, Grumpy, if you want to press me on it.
Okay, for you to say that there's no way that he's automatically getting sent down, you just don't know what you're talking about.
I said he is the most likely scenario of the player to get sent down, and you just told some bullshit out of your ass thinking that, yeah, it's the more likely scenario that Oliver Wahlstrom will start out of training camp at the top as a top 6 player.
Okay, no, that was you putting words in my mouth. What I said was, I think he will be playing opening night. That's what I think will happen. He will play opening night. That's what I will say that.
The reason he didn't play but one game the last 3 months of the year?
I don't care. I don't care. Maybe he still had the problems with the knee. You don't know.
No.
You don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I think he'll get a clean slate, and that'll be that. This will be his last shot with the team. If he makes something of it, great. If he doesn't, so what? If he gets picked up and they drop him down, so what?
January 20th.
So what?
January 20th was the first game that Patrick Waugh was named the head coach. That was an overtime game against the Dallas Stars, a victory, the overtime game against the Dallas Stars. He made his coaching debut, on January 21st. So let's see, right, on January 21st.
So he played 9 games.
The 27th, he played the 5th, the 8th, the 10th, the 13th. He went through a time period right here, the 5th, 8th, 10th, 13th, 18th, 20th, 22nd, 24th, where he was playing pretty much every single night. And you know what? Throughout that entire time period under Patrick Waugh, he had 1 point. That's just not good.
Well,
that's not saying.
What line was he playing on?
Go ahead and
playing on third line, fourth line.
You're further adding validity to my point. They're not just going to say, "Gotcha." We were playing you in a bottom 6 role. You didn't produce. Now we're just going to give you a top 6 role and see if you do that. Okay. He's going to be the odd man out. The fact that you're fighting.
There you are, just unilaterally saying that he's going to be odd man. You had no idea. You're talking at your ass as usual.
The reason that supports my thought process of him being the odd man out is because he was the odd man out the last 3 months of the regular season. And guess what? He was the odd man out starting this year under Roy Lambert. He was the odd man. He was the odd man out. He was the odd man out in the postseason. He was the odd man out the last 2 months of the regular season. That is why I think he will be the odd man out come the start of this year, because he's been the odd man out consistently over the last 2 years. That's why he'll be the odd man out once again.
Simon Holmstrom was also odd man out down the stretch.
How many games do you think Simon Holmstrom played this season?
I don't know.
75.
Okay.
It was 82 games.
Towards the end of the year.
He scratched 7 times.
Okay. But he was playing all the time. He played all year. Oliver Wahlstrom did not play all year. Just by looking at it, he only played 32 games the whole season. He did not play all year. He was not an every night guy, even under Lane Lambert. He could have still been injured. Who knows? I don't know. What I'm saying is he will get a legitimate shot to play this offseason. This will be it for him.
Okay, yeah, because that's the one thing that we see a lot of times from Islanders head coaches and Islanders GMs, that there's so much open competition for support for spots that anything could happen, right? Or do they usually preordain and pick the people that are going to play certain spots come training?
Okay, here's the thing. He doesn't – let me tell you something. Patrick Waugh doesn't like those softy players. He absolutely does not. That's why
he does.
Engvall was a healthy scratch, and so was Holmstrom. They're both healthy scratches. I think if Wahlstrom shows anything, if Wahlstrom's not a softy like those guys, you're crazy.
Wahlstrom was a healthy scratch as well. He was a healthy scratch the entire time.
But he plays a game with much more of an edge. We don't know if he was still injured. We don't know if he was just
still injured.
We don't know if the previous coaching staff just crushed him and he needed time away. We don't know. I'm hoping to see a new Oliver Wahlstrom going in camp this year. This is his last chance to the Islanders.
What's going to happen is this. When he's not said, you're going to play a top 6 role out of camp, guess what's going to happen, Grumpy? He's going to be the odd man out because he was the odd man out last year.
I think
he is, Grumpy. When he is, you just say, gotcha. Well, maybe I need to start thinking through more what I'm saying and not just saying he'll be a top 6er.
I'm going to tell you what. Patrick Waugh does not like the softy Swedes.
I don't disagree
That
with
much I can guarantee you.
I
If
agree with you.
Wahlstrom shows anything, he'll beat out Holmstrom.
I agree with you on that spot. But guess
Well,
what?
there you go. It's all up to
He's not
Wahlstrom.
going to beat out Holmstrom. He's not going to beat out Holmstrom. You don't go from a guy who was playing almost every single night, who got playoff time as well, to saying, well, because you didn't have a good camp.
Now we're invisible.
Now we're going to waive you and have somebody else have the ability to pick you up. That's not how that works. They signed him to a one-way deal. He had much more playing time than Wahlstrom did at the end of the year and in the postseason. And they don't say for guys like that, oh, well, I didn't like the way you played in a few exhibition games, so you're going to be waived and somebody else is going to pick you up. That's not usually what teams do.
Well, you know what? But Patrick was fully in charge. I think he just came in last year. Okay, let's see what we have, because he is in charge of the team now. He is in charge. Just like I said, he's in charge. Yeah. Anthony Duclair was a Patrick Waugh signing. Absolutely he was. He had history with him. The old man's done. He's finished. This is it for the old man. You're going to see Patty Waugh's fingerprints on her. You want to know his fingerprints are? First thing he does is dust off those softy Swedes. That's number one in his book. He does not like soft players. Absolutely freaking not. That's why if Oliver Wahlstrom shows anything in the preseason, he will beat out that inbred Simon Holmstrom. That's what's going to happen. Because
so you know in this scenario, Simon Holmstrom's going to be waived. Come right off the start.
They'll send it down to the minors.
You understand, on a one-way contract, when they send him to the minors, that is getting waived. They're going to waive Simon Holmstrom in your scenario. I'll clarify that again, because he's on a one-way deal and they send him to the minors. That will be him getting waived. In your scenario, Simon Holmstrom gets waived.
He has to go through waivers, and no one will pick him up because he has no ability. That's my whole point. Same thing with Wahlstrom. If he gets sent down, no one's going to pick him up, because as far as anyone's concerned, he has no ability. They killed all their prospects. It's what they do with every prospect. They murder every single prospect they ever have. But here's the thing. If Simon Holmstrom gets murdered in the woods, does anybody know? No, they don't.
So again, just to recap here, Grumpy thinks Wahlstrom will be in the opening night lineup, first off.
Yeah,
Second off, on top of that, Grumpy thinks that Holmstrom will be waived come the start of the camp.
Him, Fashing, or Wahlstrom. I said one of three guys is going to get sent down. Fashing, Holmstrom, Wahlstrom. One of those three guys is going to get sent down. Everybody else, they're not sending. McLean will make the team, right? Guaranteed.
I think that maybe Fashing gets sent down. If it's not Wahlstrom, maybe it's Fashing. There's no way they're sending Holmstrom down. Absolutely not. I mean, to think that he's going to be the odd man out is just crazy. I think it's probably Wahlstrom, the guy who wasn't playing games. So that's my point. You could stick with it, however you'd like it to be. It's not going to be Saplakoff, I don't believe. Otherwise, he'll just go back home. I wouldn't blame him then at that point. We've lost Ruslan Ishikov. He's gone. We brought in Liam Foodie to replace, I guess, to add him.
Great. You know what? So what? They bring in Foodie. Maybe he turns out to be something. I don't know.
It doesn't matter. It's just more like just word salad. Just like it does nothing for the team. Or maybe we see him play a game. Maybe that's it. It's like, it reminds me of, hey guys, we signed Julien Gauthier. What a fantastic signing. I don't even think he's with the organization.
Was he a one-way or a two-way contract?
I don't even think he's with the organization anymore.
He's still with the organization.
Is he?
Mm-hmm.
You sure? Okay. I thought I saw something that he was moved. Maybe
he's on a 2-year deal, I believe.
Okay.
And now we don't have cap friendly anymore, so I can't really tell you.
Yeah, there's other sites you can do that on, Grumpy, but that's fine.
Name one site.
Sport Track. So yeah, there's other sites you could do that on. Anyway, so again, he signed it. Yeah, you're right. He signed a 2-way deal, but it was where he could be waived on that side, or he could be sent down to the minors. I think it was a 2-way deal on that side, but it doesn't matter. It's just like the same thing. Like, oh, we got Julien Gauthier. This is so fantastic. It's like Liam Foodie's the same thing. All these other guys who make no impact. We're getting caught in the weeds. You want to get caught in the weeds because you want to die on the Wahlstrom hill. Doesn't matter. Wahlstrom's done here. His time with the Islanders is over. It was over last year when I mentioned that he's a guy who's not going to get a fair and honest shot. We saw that coming out of camp with the guys they paired him up with. It was clear and obvious that he was never going to get a shot here anymore. And guess what? I could tell, just like I saw at the end of last year when he wasn't getting the shot then under a new coach after an 8 or 9 game stretch, he still wasn't getting time. Well, I could tell you this much. They've already rolled the dice on him. They know what they have in him. Patrick Waugh sees nothing additional in him that we wish we may be able to see, and his time with this team will be done too. I don't think the signing back of him makes any difference at all, and he will be gone from the Islanders in a matter of time.
He couldn't have seen too much in Engvall and Holmes for making them healthy scratches every night too. So
good. They're both bottom 6 guys.
Yeah, well,
and Wallstrom has the prototype of a top 6, but isn't good enough to play in the top 6. So I don't know what to tell you, right? He doesn't play the style and energy game needed to be a bottom 6er, and he's not good enough to play on a top 6. So he's a guy who's a tweener that doesn't belong in the NHL at this point.
I just say it's one of 3 guys who's going to get waived. That's all. You wanted to press me on who exactly. It's one of 3 guys. I'm not going to tell you exactly who's going to be
the most likely scenario.
You have to go through training camp. You have to go through training camp. If Oliver Wahlstrom comes out and scores 10 goals in training camp, he's not going down.
Yeah, if he scores 10 goals and had 10 assists in 5 games.
And maybe if he plays with forwards not named Ishikov and whoever the hell he played with last year on the third line,
Kuhlman, etc.
Maybe he'll have more of a chance to show something. Like they force-fed Simon Holmstrom on the first line, and he busted out because that's what he is. He's a busted-ass vehicle that doesn't even deserve to play in the NHL. Here's the thing. There's a place for Simon Holmstrom. There's always fourth-line guys. But he's soft. He's soft. He is so freaking soft. He's worse than Charmin soft. I mean, he's the softest toilet paper there is. He's like a moist towelette is what he is. He's already pre-flushing down the toilet before you even throw the shit into the bowl. That's what he is. So soft. So that's not Holmstrom. Holmstrom's not afraid to engage. He's not afraid to drop the gloves. The only gloves that Simon Holmstrom's ever dropped were freaking mittens because he doesn't wear gloves. Mittens after his mommy sent him outside in the backyard during snowstorm.
You kind of mixed it up. You said Holmstrom is tough, but I think you meant to say Wallstrom.
Wallstrom is tough.
Yeah. So
Wally and Casper. That's what I'll call them.
Okay. Yeah. Simple as this. Doesn't matter. It makes no impact at all on the Islanders.
None of this makes any impact on the team at all.
Wallstrom will be waived. It doesn't matter. He makes no impact on the team either. Doesn't matter if Holmstrom was waived
or Engvall.
They're all the same. They're all guys that are bottom tier players. It's not like, oh man, if we lost Holmstrom, oh, that's catastrophic to our team's future success. It's just not the case. They're bottom 6 guys, and Wallstrom is a healthy scratch guy. So yeah, again, like we're talking about players that shouldn't even be in the topic of conversation. It'd be like saying, oh man, we're going to lose Cal Clutterbuck. And I'd argue that probably Cal in his prime was better as a bottom 6er to this point than a guy like Simon Holmstrom was. Not saying Holmstrom can't continue to grow, but Cal was a really great bottom 6 guy. He was
a good player when he's in Minnesota.
There's no point or reason to need to continue to discuss, rearranging those specific chairs on the deck of the Titanic. Again, the question was always, has the team gotten good enough? Is the team going to be good enough to make any sort of noise or damage this year? And if not, right, like when does the cord get ripped? When does the parachute get ripped where we say, hey, we're just cutting bait with this? That's going to be the interesting question, right? Because if you don't come off to a hot start, you don't have a guy like Brock Nelson signed to an extension, and you said that's not a priority. You don't have a guy like Kyle Palmieri signed to an extension, and it wasn't a priority. Those are both guys that are going on expiring deals that are in their mid to early 30s. If you're not in a spot to where your team is making significant headway in the standings, or you're in a spot to where, hey, we're top 3 in the conference, at the trade deadline, or I wonder how quick they'll start to assess that. But if you're not in a spot where you're cemented in the postseason, there's no need for them to make sure they hold on to that.
Yeah. Like I said, for me, all I'm thinking is it doesn't matter regardless who gets sent down. And the only thing was the contract situation, who had a one-way, who had two-way deals. I don't think it matters. None of it matters. I can tell you that he might not think Wallstrom is the answer, and he might not be. This is his last shot to prove it. But I'm going to tell you what, He's seen enough of Engvall and Holmstrom to know that they are not Patrick Waugh players. That much I do know.
And
think about it. Both of these guys got 1-year deals, right? John McClain. Kyle McClain got a 3-year deal. What does it tell you? Was that Lou saying, oh my gosh, yeah, Kyle McClain's so great? That's Patrick Waugh's fingerprints all over Kyle McClain. And I'm glad. I like Kyle McClain.
I think you're wrong. That's simple. I think you're wrong. I think there's a possibility that that Patrick Waugh has some say so. I do believe there's definitely a possibility of that. I still think the most likely scenario is this. I think the Duclair signing was 100% Patrick Waugh. I don't think Patrick Waugh is going to be the next GM. I don't think any of that nonsense is the case. Yeah, I know. In your scenario, again, Lou's got 1 year left, and then they're moving on to Patrick Waugh. Yeah, we'll see. I did like, again, the offseason that at least we used our draft picks and drafted players, right? And trying to increase the cupboards or to restack the cupboards of the prospect pool, which is hideous, bottom in the league or bottom 3 in the league. It's just we're in a year to where I think we should be in sell mode. Anything but that is a disgrace.
That's true. I agree with that.
We're continuing to just say, hey, we're just wanting to prolong the inevitable at that point.
I agree. 100%.
Anything you want to add, Grump?
No. Off season's over. We had one signing. That's it. And well, no, I'm sorry. We get the other kid, the foodie kid, too. So that's fine. I had no problem with that. Sign the guy who needed a change of scenery. No problem. Cheapy deal. Oh, my goodness.
Yep. So today's podcast is brought to you by DraftKings. Another beautiful thing about sports fans is there's only like 2 days the whole year without sports. 2! With that much happening and there's so much action, it makes just about every game day at DraftKings Sportsbook a fun day. Makes it great there. It's super easy for first timers who get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app and select your team and place your first bet. And it could really, you really couldn't have it any simpler or easier on that. You could say, hey, I'm expecting the Yanks to win. I'm expecting the Mets to lose. You could go ahead and place your wager on anything. Whatever team you think will win or lose, go ahead and do so on DraftKings Sportsbook. And if you're new to DraftKings Sportsbook, you got to check it out now because new customers can bet $5 to get $150 instantly in bonus bets. Again, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code THPN. Again, that's promo code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in West Virginia, you can visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, you can call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. And Connecticut, help is available if you have a gambling problem. If you call 888-79-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of the Boot Hill Casino and Resort, you must be 21 years or older, but age varies by jurisdiction. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Deposit and eligibility restrictions apply. See the terms and responsible gambling resources at dkng.com/ace. I don't know. So, yes. I think we got one more ad that we'll read here in a bit from Better.
Okay. I didn't know if we were supposed to do the first ad to start the show.
Well, no, Grump. It's not as clear as it needs to be. So, anyway, yes, Grumpy, I'll let you start going through a few comments that you want there on that side because we want to start getting some comments. But I'll let you read here from JP Grump.
So they signed Wally to a 1 year, $1 million deal. They signed Casper to a 1 year, $850K deal. They must know that there's a market, that's what the market will bear for both players, yet looking at their handling of both of them.
So Holmstrom was offered a 2-way deal at $1 million or $1.1 million, and he declined that. He wanted the 1-way deal because he doesn't want to get waived and have time periods where he's getting paid less money than what he should be getting paid because they're trying to save cap space by maneuvering in between Bridgeport and the Islanders. He probably was like, shit, I'm missing out on dollars by doing this because I'm not getting paid what I should be getting paid, and I'm missing out on X, Y, and Z for the reason. Financially, I'm sure there's a reason for that.
What does it say about what the Islanders or Patrick Waugh feels about him that they wanted to put him on a 2-way deal? It tells me he's absolutely at risk to get sent down.
It tells me they wanted to have flexibility to send him down. And he said, fuck off. I don't want to let you do that. I'm going to go ahead and take the money that I should be getting, and I'm going to take a one-way deal. If you want to go ahead and release me, that's fine. I'll go ahead, and if another team wants to claim me, that's fine too. Here's the thing. What it's going to do is it's going to force their hand to waive Wallstrom, is what it did.
That's not what it does.
Okay, when it does it, we could just review this conversation and look back on what happened on July the 27th, because we could just see the finance of it. That's fine, Grump.
What it says to me, did Kyle McLean get a one-year deal? Did he get a one-way or a two-way contract?
Oh, you can't go ahead and give out those two-way deals for 3-year contract.
Okay. It tells me they really want Kyle McLean on the roster, and Simon Holmstrom, they're still up in the air about. That's what it tells me.
Yeah, is that why they offered him? Is that why they gave him that one-way deal? Because they're really up in the air on it?
They wanted him on a two-way deal. They wanted
to have flexibility. You could still do that. They could, if he would have accepted, you could still put him on a two-way deal. He said, no, I don't want that. So they didn't do it.
Okay. It tells me
they wanted to have flexibility.
They could just waive his ass. That's what they could do. They could just waive him at any time.
They can waive any player they want. What's your point?
Well, but that's my point. If they really wanted him, they wouldn't have offered him.
They're paying Kyle McLean less per year than they're paying Holmstrom. What's your point on that? The same exact logic.
If Patrick Raw really thought this kid was a starter for the team, they wouldn't even have dreamed of offering him a two-way deal. The fact that they did tells me that Patrick Raw
offered him more money. They offered him more money with the two-way deal, but he said, last year I was waived a lot of times, or I was sent down to the minors a lot of times. I don't need to do that. I just want to be up on the team. I want a one-way contract. Simple as that. So next comment here we got, Grumpy, from JP. Totally incongruent to even what the market will bear now, and basically putting one of Wallstrom's skates in the NHL grave. That's correct, JP, because it's clear and obvious for people who pay attention that with him signing that one-way deal, it means that Wallstrom is going to be the odd man out, and they're saying, see you later. He'll be waived at the end of training camp. That simple. The only conclusion that's sane or rational is they're either doing it. They're either doing the bidding of one of the other GMs and Bettman, and they're purposely tanking their seasons, artificially limiting how far they can go, or they're totally inept, or both. I think it's just they were planning on getting rid of him to begin with, and this was just maybe you get a chance to showcase something. If you play well in camp, then maybe we could try to trade your rights, or maybe you make it out of camp and you shock the world, but it's just not going to be, it's not the likely scenario.
So you say there's no way that Wallstrom plays on the team, period. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying?
I think the most likely scenario is this, right? He will be waived.
I'm going to pin you down. I'm going to make you say something that you don't want to. So you're saying there's no way he plays for the Islanders ever again. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, fine. That's what I want to see. When he's in the opening night roster, I'm going to shove this right up your ass about 10 feet.
And when he's not in the top 6 and he's waived.
He might not be in the top.
Here's the thing. When he's not in the top 6 and he's waived, I'm just going to say this, Grumpy.
And I said that was a possibility. I absolutely said that was a possibility.
No, you didn't.
But here's the thing.
You said the most likely scenario is he's in the top 6, and it's just fucking ludicrous.
Here's the thing. If Sipilkov does not prove he's NHL ready, I could see Oliver Wallstrom sliding up there in the top 6. Absolutely, I could.
Man, who gets sent down?
I think
everything Holmstrom down. We're going to waive him and let somebody pick up Holmstrom for free.
No one's going to pick up Holmstrom for free. He sucks. He's soft. He's freaking soft. He had 5 goals, 5 shorties in a month, and he was invisible the rest of the year. Just was. He was a healthy scratch at the end, and he's so soft. That's his biggest issue. It's funny. I was watching the Islanders and the Rangers 1984 playoff, and it's like, holy shit. Look at the physicality. I look at today's NHL. I said, these guys are scoring a lot of points now, but I'm going to tell you what, the goaltending was better today. But I'll tell you what, everything else, these players would wet in their pants instead of playing the man's league. Now they play the ice capades, not the man's hockey that I used to watch. And just look at the physicality. You had to battle for everything. Clutching, grabbing, hooking, slashing, tripping, everything. Interference all over the place. Nothing called.
Okay. Simple as this.
David blows. I just want to throw that out there.
Simple as this. They're slower. They played, and because they weren't as.
It looks slower because you're impeding everybody all the time.
Yeah, because the guys were not skilled. They were not as skilled as they are
Because
now.
they
So
were
the
being
only
hooked
way they could try to prevent the skilled
every
players from
here's
succeeding
the you never
was
watched
to
you
let them
first of
go.
all, you don't know.
Oh
You're
my god.
ignorant to the fact because you never
And we
watched
need to
it.
pull up the Bobby
The
Orr highlights where it
physicality
looks like we could
the
be out there fucking sweating
physicality
in damn
the
construction boots.
the
Oh,
physicality in the game
yeah.
was just it was there's no comparison. Just watching those like holy shit, I forgot how physical these games were. And now it's like everybody skates, you breathe on somebody, boop, penalty, interference.
Yeah, maybe we'll pull up the old clips of Bobby Orr, the speed demon he was skating around people. It looked like they were just average
Physicality.
everyday Joes. Yeah.
Physicality. Don't be afraid of it.
Nobody touched him.
Be
Nobody
afraid.
touched him. We're just
Don't be
skating
afraid.
around. Everybody's standing there like they got cement in their shoes. But that's cute.
Physicality.
JP Grump, you go.
Because even that roster in the last 2 years has a real shot if Wallstrom is a 15 to 20 minute, well, he's never going to get 20 minutes. Time on ice player on the power play, scoring 34 goals a season, which was his initial projection. Yeah, I don't think he's ever been given a legit shot. But they do that with a lot of their young players. They never give them legit shots.
Not good enough. That simple. I think he could do. I think his production could be higher if you give him a better chance and a better role. That's everybody. He's just not good enough.
Would you say
at this point?
Would you say if he played if he was a second line player, you don't think he would have 25 goals a year? I absolutely think he would.
If he doesn't play the power play time in the first power play, probably no.
I disagree.
Like you look at it historically, even down. I like his shot, but just you look at the numbers and his stats. He's never been a guy who scored actually a lot of goals outside of the USHL. Didn't do it in college. Didn't do it in Bridgeport. Didn't do it in the NHL. I think he'd have more goals, but he's a guy I think he was relying upon the power play to put up points, and that's fine because goals are goals are goals. I don't care if you score them on the power play or 5-on-5, but when you have a coach who, you know, even when he took over, determined, oh, we're not putting Wallstrom on the power play. Well, there you go. Well, you're not going to see a lot of production from him regarding the goal category. So maybe Patrick Waugh should clear his head, maybe kind of come back to this, you know, the drawing board if he wants really that success of our fantastic phenom Oliver Wallstrom per Grumpy to play in the top 6. Put him on that first line power play, baby. Here you go, Grumpy. Thomas A.
I do not want Patrick Laine. Do you see any chance that Ehlers is still a possibility? No. If not, I would love Robertson from Toronto. Not happening, and that might be more realistic considering the salary. They're done. The offseason's over, Thomas. I hate to tell you, it's over.
Yeah, yes, there's a lot of rumor. Here's the thing: people are just trying to find things to write about at this point because the Islanders have done nothing and will do nothing else to retire or the remainder of the offseason. The only thing we did was add Anthony Duclair. And we're like, oh, man, look how it looks different with a shaved face. You look how different. He did look different. I was like, who the hell is that? I couldn't even realize it was Anthony Duclair with a shaved face.
Yeah, he shaved, and it's like, who is this kid?
It's the same thing like when Palmieri did it. You're like, oh, man, it's different when you look at somebody shaved.
I thought he was a celebrity who just wanted to get on the ice.
Could have been. Yeah, it looked a little bit like that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so, I mean, like, that's the only move. Everybody else is just grasping at straws trying to create content this offseason. I mean,
or like maybe not a celebrity, like a fantasy camp type thing, you know?
Yeah.
Hey, come skate with the Islanders. We have a tournament at the end.
Yeah. But I'll tell you this, right? Line A is not happening, right? He just exited the NHLPA program, so he could technically be traded now. I just don't think, right? So they're talking about the asking price for a guy like Packers Line A. Not going to happen. We're not moving for him. That simple. And, Nikolai Ehlers is not happening either. We're doing nothing. And I just hope we're not adding at the deadline. I hope Lou got sacked. Well, unfortunately not, Michael, but that would be nice. Freedom, fun, and adventure, Grumpy.
Good evening to the audience, the grumpy old man and the tyrant. Tuning in to see if TJ will be nice to his father. Well, you know that's not true. I want Wally to get another shot. I want the Islanders to buy out Engvall or dump Gauthier. Gauthier, he's like I said, he's a non-entity. And I don't think it's worth buying out Engvall. I don't know how that would even work.
At this point, there's no reason to buy any candidate out. None. The only thing the team should do if they're going to change route is blow the thing up from freaking scratch. Blow it up. And that's by not buying out players, eat their contract, be shitty with them for a bit, and when they're on an expiring deal, trade them away for parts and pieces at the deadline every year.
We're going to be a bad team.
Yeah, we're going to be a really bad team. That's right.
For a while.
Yeah, I mean, like, It's not going to be good. It's not going to be pretty. We've talked about this. We've talked about this for years. This is, we talk about, oh man, could we see this coming? Yes. Everybody who's been paying attention could see that the fall is coming, and the fall is freaking here.
Think about where the team goes if they do move out
Brock Nelson and Kyle Palmieri.
Then I guarantee Oliver Wahlstrom's on the second line then. That's a guarantee.
He'll already be gone by that point. They'll already have moved him out, Grumpy. He'll already be with another team.
I just thought about that this week. I'm like, gosh, if they let go of if they move those two guys, this team's in the shitter for a while. But they can't re-sign them. You can't re-sign those guys.
Yeah. The team is in a spot. This has been the problem the entire time. It's been the problem the entire time. We've done a very poor job with assembling the roster. It's that simple. I mean, like it was the roster designed to win now, but we've got no shot of doing it. And like just putting this up, Grumpy, so you're able to see it, right? Like Matt Barzal, he's 27 now. He's no spring chicken. Guess what? Bo Horvat turns 30 this year.
Yeah.
That's not old. That's not end all be all, but he's no spring chicken. Sorokin, he'll be 30 at the start of camp?
29. I don't know. 29. He's 29 right now.
He's 29 years old now, whatever. So Anders, he'll be 29. No, I'm sorry. He's 28. He was born in 95. Oh no, he'll be 29 at the start of the year. That's fine. And Anders Lee, 34 years old. Pulak is 30 years old now.
Yeah.
Let that shit sink in. Pulak and Pelech are both 30 years old. And Pelech has been playing some of his worst hockey we've seen recently.
They both have what?
Brock Nelson, who's 33. Kyle Palmieri, who's 33. John Gabriel Pescia's 32.
Yep.
No freaking way. Is he really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And you've got there Dobby, right? He's 20. I mean, 25. That's fine. He's young. But it's just like Scott Mayfield, 32. Duclair is 29. Pierre Engvall is 28. Like you start looking at the age of these guys, you're like, oh shit. Oh, Mike Riley's 31. It doesn't look good. That simple. You notice you got a lot of guys in their 30s.
And nothing in the minors. Nothing. That's why it frustrates me that Buffalo just gave away Savoy. Gave him away. Where you couldn't have done something. I mean, our team is littered with third line players. We could have traded them. The whole roster is third line players. You couldn't have rolled the dice on a Matthew Savoy. I just, like I said, it's going to be bad for a while.
Yeah, it's just like, again, and I'm just even thinking about our top six in our forward group, right? Like, okay, Matt Barzal's in the prime of his career. I think Bo Horvat, right? He's in the prime of his career. Probably Duclair is in the prime of his career. So your top line, I think, are all three guys that are in the prime of their career. Our second line, Brock Nelson, we could say, right, at 33 years old, he tailed off at the tail end of last year. He's probably past his prime. It wouldn't be out of the ordinary for him to be past his prime at this point. Kyle Palmieri played really well in the second half of the season. He did. But a 33-year-old right wing, probably not in his prime anymore for a guy who's always been like a middle six guy in his career. Anders Lee's definitely past his peak, right? Jean Gabriel Pageau is past his peak, right?
Yeah.
Like you start looking at the guys, you're like, oh yeah, a lot of guys are past their peak. And like, oh, we've got big contracts that have to be extended and renewed if we want to go ahead and try to build something like that. It's just, the problem is it's not great. And then on top of that, you've got here, again, like defensemen last a lot longer, but Pelech has been injury prone over the last few years, and he's 30 years old. You don't get less and less injury prone the older you get.
And he's got 5 more years left on his deal. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. 5.
And Pulak is 30, also 6 more years left on his deal. I just
yeah. It's and then you've got 6 more years left on Scott Mayfield's deal. He's 32. It's bad. It's really fucking bad.
6 more years of Pierre Engvall.
It's really fucking bad. It's really bad. And you've got another 7 years left of Bo Horvat. He's 30. He's 29 years old right now. He'll be playing until he's 36 years old on this team. I mean, like all of these things are like, uh-oh. You kind of start to look ahead. You can kind of start, hey, what are we going to be looking forward to, guys? Whatever it is, it's not good. That simple. Here you go. Freedom Fund Adventure Grump.
TJ, no free buffet tonight, so you can do a show. We
That's right.
we know you dump us in there as free food somewhere. If there is free, we know
Yeah.
that you dump us if there is free food somewhere. That's true.
Well, that's
Rick,
definitely actually that.
Rick Roma says Line A hasn't been an elite goal scorer in quite a few years now. He's lazy and has a big contract. Why would anyone want him?
Yeah, it's I see a lot of people not wanting him. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't think we'd have any interest in him. Okay, Lou Lamoriello is not a guy who takes and rolls the dice on anybody who's a risky player.
Well, Patrick Waugh, you're right. Patrick Waugh, Line A is not a Patrick Waugh type player. That's correct.
Oh, fucking stop. Oh, man. Why is TJ wearing a standard prison issue outfit? Because I'm in the prison that is Islanders fandom. It's a bad
wow.
Yeah.
Is that a red shirt? That's red shirt, isn't it?
It's red. It's not orange, but I still roll with it. Milo Brownie.
Islanders have no cap space. So, Grump, you're the GM. What would you do to get Line A? How many years does Line A have left on his deal?
I'll tell you.
Because, I mean, that makes – honestly, I'm not going after anyone this year. I mean, I think the team is – when the team doesn't perform, we have to sell the deadline. So, I'm not bringing anybody in. 2 years left on
2 years left on his contract.
Okay, so 2 years left.
Yes.
I'm not making a big
2 years left. 2 years left, making $8.7 million.
Yeah, that's way too much money for him.
For guys not.
Let's say, would you trade Anders Lee for Patrick Laine?
If they would accept this, I'd take that in a heartbeat, but I don't think they do that.
Well, but that's a type of deal because he's immovable for them, but Anders Lee is immovable for us. Maybe he gives. Maybe Waddell wants to get a little veteran leadership. He wants to get rid of Laine. I'd roll the dice and bring him in, move out Anders Lee for Patrick Laine. That's a type of deal I would make. Why not?
I'm just looking at the construction. It's bad, man.
It is bad.
I mean, like it's going to be really freaking bad. It's just, oh man, you ready to cancel the show, Grumpy? We cancel it for the remainder of Islanders. Grumpy, this is about to be fucking awful for the team. This is about to be bad. I mean,
I saw it. Yeah. That's why I said the time to make moves was 2 years ago.
I was mentioning this 2 years ago. That's when I was on board. You were mentioning this even before then. But 2 years ago, the year, as soon as we had a year, right, when we were making back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals, I said, until they show me a reason to say no, until they give me a reason to say no, I'm not going to say no, we need to rebuild or we need to change because I'm seeing the results. Then we saw a huge outlier, a huge issue where we say, oh gosh, we finished 18 or 16 points out of a playoff spot. At that point, I'm like, oh, okay, we need to look to start changing things now. We doubled down again, and we saw similar results, except we squeaked in the postseason, got bounced in the first round, and we did the same thing last year too. So 3 years we've won one playoff a game.
No, we've had 3 playoff game wins in the last 3 years.
Did we?
Yeah, Carolina beat us in 5 this year and 6 the year before.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Well, never mind. I'm sorry. We've had 3 playoff wins in 3 years, not 3 series wins like some teams getting over a 3-year time period. We've won 3 games in the playoffs in 3 years, so that's my mistake. I apologize. 1 playoff win a year. Hey, Islander fans, that's something to be excited about. But yeah, it's just like when you start looking at it, and like again, I think I'll start using Puckpedia because
is that the one you brought up? Because the age just jumped out at me.
Well, I like the way it's split out. It's kind of similar. Now, it's not great. I mean, like they can definitely do some improving of their layout. But Matt Barzal will be 27 when season starts. I know Brock Nelson shows 32, but he'll be 33 October the 15th. Yeah. So like what they're looking for is when they start. These are showing their current age, but you'll have a few guys who may be a little older. Jean-Gabriel Pageau will be 32 like in the first month of the season. So will Anthony Duclair. But it's just like, okay, gotcha. You've got Matt Barzal on, until 2031 on a contract. The same thing. Bo Horvat will be on a contract till 2031. Bo Horvat's 29 years old. Yikes. Long deal. You still got 2 years left of Anders Lee. Don't buy him out. Just eat the rest of these shitty years, and next year trade him and absorb half the cap hit at the deadline and move him.
Unless you can move him for Line A. That's a deal I would absolutely
I would do that in a heartbeat. I just don't think that they would do that.
No, I agree. But there's nothing wrong with calling and asking.
I wouldn't even entertain
I
that
just wish,
call.
the thing that got to me was when you saw how old, you can see how the font is really small on the age.
It's shitty. I'm not a big fan of that. I mean, come on, guys. They got to do a little bit better than this. I mean, you have a huge opening because now whatever what was the old one? Cap friendly is gone. Get rid of this. I'm sorry, Stefan, not get rid of you, but get rid of the tweets on the side. Get rid of all that crap. I don't need to see this like little tiny letters. You got to blow this up. Old people like myself and Grumpy like to be able to see a little bit better.
Yeah, but like I said, when I saw the ages like in normal size font as opposed to tiny font, it really stands out. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah. So again, now you start looking through, you go, oh gosh.
What's the hammer? What's the hammer? The RFA with the hammer for Oliver Wahlstrom.
It means arbitration eligible.
Oh, he's arbitration eligible. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, like you just start looking at it. Oh gosh, yeah. Duclair. I have no problem with the Duclair contract. I actually like that deal. I'm a big fan of the Duclair deal. I am. That's a win, I think. Pierre Engvall was awful. Bad contract. You still have 2 years left. Jean-Gabriel Pageau will be 32 at the beginning of the season. You still have 2 years left on his contract, paying him $5 million per. 32-year-old center.
They got to move.
33.
I mean, let's say you're going to move Nelson and Palmieri, do you want a combination of picks and young talent, or do you just want picks?
I want picks and young talent. I'm fine if you're giving us prospects. I am, but like it just doesn't make sense to hold on at this point to them. Like you just start looking at the team and the roster. Like there's a lot of older guys that are tied to long-term contracts, unfortunately, and it's going to be the death. Like the roster composition will be the death of this franchise. That simple.
Yeah, I just don't know if you can get young prospects and draft picks at the deadline. I think that's an off-season move, and we know the old man just doesn't make any moves in the off-season.
He should be removed. As soon as they have to start trading away pieces, he should be removed. He should have been removed years ago. He'll be
gone. Don't worry. He'll be gone after this year. You don't need to worry about that. He's gone.
Yeah, but you got 2 more years, right? Like your team's not getting better with Anders Lee. Anders Lee's not getting any better on the ice. And I thought he played really well in the postseason.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Jean-Gabriel Pageau is not getting any better.
No.
He'll be a 32-year-old forward, a small, undersized forward who's got a lot of rough miles on his body. He's not getting
Wasn't the time to move Palmieri this offseason, though?
Yes, he had a fantastic second half of the year, and he had I'm talking about a great postseason, in my opinion. And they just said, nope. I think they were going to give it one more shot, and if we're not in a good spot at the deadline, that's when they're going to start selling. I really do believe that. And if we don't, then we're completely fucked.
Yeah, I just think it doesn't matter. And that's why I think that Patrick Roy only come in to be his GM, because it gives him some stability getting back in the league. Brian Pulak
start looking here. Yes. So like he turns 30 on October the 6th. So all of these guys are showing 29. Like, and the same thing with Pelech, right? He turns 30 years old. Pelech does on August the 16th. So, talking about next month, he'll be 30 by the time the season starts. So 30. Noah Dobson will be 25 at season start. Scott Mayfield will be 30.
No, he'll be 25 in January.
Oh, in January? I'm sorry.
He'll be 25 in January.
Gotcha.
Scotty Mayfield is an October birthday, I believe. He'll be 32.
Damn, October the 14th. Look at you go, Grumpy. So, it's
I know a lot of the Islanders players have October, early October, or at the latest like November birthdays, and then you got the guys who have January birthdays.
But it's just like we talk about where the problems arise. It's not necessarily that they're 30 years old or 32 now, but you can see this. Pulak is under contract until 2030. He becomes a UFA, until 2030. So the 2029, 2020, or 2030 season will be his last year. So you just start thinking about like, oh gosh, Pulak is going to be into his mid-30s to late 30s. Same thing with Adam Pelech, who's been injury prone. Scott Mayfield, who's been injury prone as well. Yep. Broken that foot there on that slap shot. Twice he's broken his foot due to a slap shot to the foot. I'm like, oh gosh, he moved like he's got cement feet out there to begin with, and you start breaking your feet a lot. Well, it's not going to help you move more fleet of foot the older you get. Yeah, so I don't know. It's just the team is in bad shape. The way the team has been assembled is in bad shape.
Well, good news
we need to start selling away.
The good news is we have Semyon Varlamov till he's 39 years old. That's good news.
Oh, I can't believe you wouldn't believe how many of the Islander fans are like, man, oh gosh, he's the best goalie on our team. Just like, stop. Anyway,
No.
so it's not good. That simple. We're not in a good spot, Grump. Alrighty, Grumpy. No comments. Freedom, fun, adventure.
Islanders don't need a player who is not a complete player, has off-ice substance abuse issues, and on-ice flaws. Islanders need a complete player who is skilled and intense. Yeah, in the real world, you're not able to get those guys unless you have something to trade for them.
Yeah.
That's the difference. So you got to pick up a guy like Line A. He's talking about Line A, of course. And you can't pick up a guy like Line A. You can pick him up because of those issues. So sometimes you got to roll the dice on a guy like that. Freedom Fund Venture adds, Grumpy is correct. Thank you. I don't even need to go any further. Lou lacks the skills and courage to make significant hockey trades. Correct. Yes, Horvat was a good deal, but doing something not obvious. Lou can't do a Turgeon type trade. That's true also. I just think at this stage of his career, he's finished.
JP Grump.
Grumpy, two men are going to prevent Edmonton from winning the cup. Number one is Stuart Skinner, and number two, Gary Bettman.
Yeah.
One of those two men goes from their current posts, and that can change. I think they're very easy to get themselves a better goalie than Stuart Skinner. I don't know why Bettman doesn't fit in there. I love what Edmonton did this offseason. I thought it was a fantastic offseason. They brought in the glue guys like Henrique. They signed him back, not to ridiculous 7-year deals, 1-year deal.
You're right. Two Pop says Lou must go. I agree.
Me too.
Freedom, fun, adventure, Grumpy.
This would impress me. Move Pajot and some riffraff. Get a new third line center, fourth line enforcer, and maybe a third line right wing. If all have size, identity, can skate, and skill, then the Islanders become dangerous. Excuse me. I'm sorry. They're not doing anything. This is it. Till Patty watches
the end. We're done. This is it. The end is here, guys. We've got one more chance that they're going to try to put together. We've had the whole of this ship has been completely, we just continue to just throw tar on it. And we say, okay, hopefully it can get us to the next port. And the proverbial port in this metaphor is, hey, we make it to the postseason. Hopefully we can get it to the next postseason. Hopefully this can get us to the next postseason. And we continue. We get more. What, Grumpy?
No, what it is, it's like filling potholes. Just throwing little stuff in there every once in a while when they really just need to repave the whole road instead of just potholes. And then
that works too. But Grumpy, you're gonna interrupt me during the middle of my analogy. What's going on, Grumpy?
Well, you said tar. I didn't know where the hell you're going with tar.
That's what happens on an old timey boat, Grumpy. We're in a wooden boat. You put tar on the outside when you've got holes on it to try to prevent the water from leaking in. So we continue just to put tar right over the top of that area. And what happened was we're getting it from proverbial port to port, which is postseason to postseason. And guess what? Eventually, we're going to have to get a whole fucking new boat because you can't just say we're going to continue to put more and more tar over the never-ending amount of holes that continue to pop up. Eventually, you're going to have to replace the hole. You're going to have to freaking tear the shit down. You can use the pothole analogy. It probably works a little bit better than mine. But I like the boat analogy better. We're just continuing to patch up the issues. So,
okay.
Greg Prado, Grump.
Greg Prado was back with a big announcement. The grumpy old man was recently interviewed for my next book, which will be an Islander-related release. The exact topic I will announce shortly on this show.
Oh, Grumpy, you were interviewed by Greg Prado, huh?
Yes, I was. When you were too busy doing whatever it was you were doing, I was out promoting the show and doing interviews for books.
Greg, can you or let me ask you this, Grumpy. We don't want to steal Greg's thunder. How did you like the interview with Greg? How did it go, Grumpy?
Fine. Greg's a nice guy. He's not a tyrant. He wasn't trying to afflict his views on me like you try to do.
I think Greg should start doing that a little bit more. He's got to steer Grumpy in the right direction. Grumpy's
maybe that's why Greg's books sell and yours don't.
I don't create books, but Greg's books do sell. That's for certain.
And then Greg also adds, P.S. The interview lasted over an hour. This may make Grumpy a star.
Oh, Grumpy, you going to go ahead and quit your day job?
I will quit my day job.
What's your day job now, by the way? Let me ask you.
Just being retired.
You're going to quit retirement? Going to come out of retirement, Grumpy?
Waking up whenever I want, go for a run.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Waking up when you want is definitely, that's.
So what? So what? So what, Warden Jr.? So what? So what? What does it matter if I want to get up at any time I want? Should there be stuff?
Do you want to get specific about the time you wake up, Grump?
It's the battle I have with the warden all the time. It's like, well, you don't get up at this time. You get up. I'm like, what does it matter? In the grand scheme, it doesn't matter what time I get up.
I'll sometimes be calling Grumpy around like 12 in the afternoon. He's still asleep. I'm like, Grumpy. I can tell he's still sleeping.
So what? I take a little nap. What can I tell you? So what? So
No,
what?
you don't
So
take
what?
a nap. You're still sleeping the whole time.
So
I wonder,
what?
what does X think about that? X just finally joined in.
X has been here for a while.
Yeah, goon.
Could Oleg Kavasha have strengthened this team? Is Son X living the dream? I'm going to answer the second part first. Yes, Son X is living the dream without a doubt. Whenever he needs food, he just comes on over. His mommy will get him anything he wants. Matter of fact, TJ's coming to visit here very shortly, and his mommy went and bought him some shit so he could have something to drink. Because she's not even going to be here. It's going to be me and TJ.
Where's the warden?
She's got a wedding to go to.
What?
Yeah, she's got a wedding to go to. I was supposed to go, but since you were coming into town, I said, well, I'll make sure I'm here for TJ.
Hold on. What? This is news to me. What wedding are you guys going to?
Her cousin's getting married.
You're not going to the wedding, Grumpy? You could go. I'll just stay at the Grumpy estate all by myself.
That's not happening. Now he's 70 years old and he's getting married. So
wow. I hope they're not listening to the show, Grumpy. Play nice. Michael Boucher.
Very nice. I have no problem with him at all. Very nice. Michael Boucher says, I think Martin will be back. I hope not. There's no way. They don't have the money.
Freedom for an adventure.
TJ, we know you struggle with reading, but Lou, Wah, and Wally all said Wally was never fully recovered last season. Engdahl and Holmstrom, both big players who play soft. Well, Holmstrom has trade value.
I'm sorry. Okay. I didn't buy that bullshit excuse when Anders Lee said it. You don't need 2 years to recover from an ACL surgery on a soft impact sport like hockey on your knees. You have guys who bounce back in the NFL just pounding on their knees like that all day long after 6 months sometimes less. You don't need that much time to do it in hockey. I don't buy that for a second. If you're saying that, pack your fucking bags up, kid, and don't even bother playing out there. Don't even bother. If you can't recover in a time period like that, that is your job. You're a professional athlete. Your job is to recover your ACL, hit your fucking rehab hard, hit there 2-3 times a day, do what you're supposed to be, make sure you're not showing up late to rehab and not doing your assignments. Simple as that. I'd have no excuse for people saying, oh, I didn't recover back from my knee injury quick enough.
The more I think of it, I think Wally's probably going to earn the first line spot.
Yeah, that's it. What's up, Rob G? He says, hey, how's it going? What's up, Rob? Okay, here you go. TJ, look at Wally's average ice time in games under Wall. It's a joke. Well, that's my point. He's not going to get that opportunity under Patrick Wall if he didn't before.
I don't know that. If he was still battling that injury, which was my whole point, there's I think this is the season for him, though. This is the off season. There was no shots after this one. There are none.
Goon Grump.
Will Sorokin bounce back this year? Will it be one big smear?
I think he bounces back.
I do too.
But the shitty thing is, I think our forward group and our production takes a step backwards because now we're gonna we played no structure under Lane Lambert. We scored more goals. Patrick Waugh came in. We scored a little less goals, I would assume. Maybe I'm wrong on it, but I would assume a little less goals. Now we got more structure again. I would assume, like it was under the Barry days, less goals and more defense. So we're going to be sitting right in the middle of no man's land come the trade deadline. And maybe we'll keep everybody to make one last push. And maybe we can lose Brock Nelson and Kyle Palmieri to free agency for nothing. That would be pretty good. That would be clap it all around for Lou Lamoriello if we lose them to free agency for nothing. He should honestly be removed off of anything he's ever had and drug out by his heels the next day. And his son should be removed because of the father's incompetence as well. That's the level we should be if Brock Nelson and Kyle Palmieri leave with no compensation without a new contract.
The only thing that could be worse is if he signs them to contract extensions.
I don't know. They're both pretty bad. They're both pretty bad.
They're both
usually if they sign the contract extensions, it's bad for you because it means that Lou still has all the power in the situation, which I think is a likely scenario too.
I just think that Lamoriello, if he signs them back, I can't see it being anything. What do you figure? 4-year deals?
Who knows? Too long. Too long is what it will be.
Yeah, they can't. They have to move them.
Freedom Fund Adventure says here, TJ, what's the first thing you thought when you saw baby Liza? Grumpy, what's the first thing you thought when you saw TJ?
Go ahead and answer the first part.
Just like, wow, this is a baby. This is real. That's probably the first thing I thought.
What a loser he is. The first thing I thought TJ was so beautiful when he was born, and look how he freaking turned out. So,
The Islanders' final game was on May the 1st, so forget the May in this argument. I like to say it because it helps my point, Ted. He played no games in May. The Islanders played in May, they played in March, and they played in April. He played one game in March, April, and May with the Islanders.
He was still hurt. Still hurt. He'll be back.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm still hurt. Oh, my poor knee's still hurt. You're a professional athlete, brother.
Next.
You had an entire season. I'm sorry. I'm not buying that bullshit line of excuse.
Freedom Fund Adventure says Engvall and Holmstrom look like Tarzan, play like Jane. TJ looks like Grimace, plays like Grimace. Can we put up the Grimace? Can we put a picture of Grimace up there?
Everyone knows what fucking Grimace looks like. You bet.
Big purple blob.
JP Grump.
A hairy purple. Well, so he does not look like Grimace because Grimace had hair on his head, I believe. JP says Wallstrom was never soft. Thank you. Has grit and is willing to fight. Exactly. He's been buried over the years, period of years. That's my whole point.
I don't disagree with that, but I don't think he's at this point. They've stunted his growth. They've stunted any sort of ability he has to be successful. I fully believe he's completely wasted his career with the Islanders. That's simple. Wally can score, the other Jags can't. That's true. Ted says here, Holmstrom's not getting waived. He's still young. Forget it. That's correct, Ted. I'd waive Engvall before fashing Wallstrom and Holmstrom. I wouldn't have a problem with that, but they're not waiving Engvall. Gungun says here, which New York Sportster leg injury stunk worse in recent times? Anders Lee, Aaron Rodgers, Kodai Senga. When will we get the tour of the Grumpy's Hacienda?
Hacienda, very good. I thought you'd mess up. You know that Kodai Senga, I carried him on my fantasy baseball team all freaking year on injured reserve. He comes back yesterday against the Braves, goes 5 1/3, 9 strikeouts, 1 hit, I think no earned runs. He goes for a little ground ball and he pulls his calf muscle. He's out for the rest of the year.
He's out for the whole fucking season.
Out for the regular season, which is all I really care about because then fantasy's over.
Well, the Mets aren't making the fucking postseason, so that's all the Mets should care about too. So he's done for the year.
They've been rolling. And
the Mets are done. The Mets are done.
They're buyers. We'll talk about that tomorrow.
Stupid Mets. Anyway, so yeah, I did the same thing in one of the leagues. I thought because I saw a calf injury. What if an entire fucking year with a calf injury? Are you fucking nuts, brother? Oh my God. What's up with the athletes these days? Oh, I pull down and I pull my calf or I tear a calf muscle, fucking bending down to pick up a routine ground.
Or oblique injuries. Oblique injuries.
You know what? Again, like if you're swinging super hard, I get that. Bending down to pick up. That's like, I bend down to pick up. Hey, sometimes I got to go quickly. I bend down to pick something up in the yard as I'm mowing the yard. Wow, I tore my calf. Come on, JP Grump.
That might be true that Casper won't be waived. However, no one would claim him if he were.
I think somebody would. The hype and media machines behind him. Look at how many shorthanded goals he's got. Somebody absolutely would claim him.
They'd look at film on him and say, this guy blows.
Okay, a lot of teams do things without looking at film or actually.
San Jose or Anaheim, teams like that would take a role.
Freedom Fund Adventure.
TJ, when you say guests, do you mean real guests like Rob Schremp or Trevor Gillies, or the usual shit stew that you try forcing down our throats and the guys that just take over your show and promote themselves? That's true. Those are TJ's buddies.
Well, here's the thing. We need to just start planning something out because, we're going to do nothing else the rest of the off season. And as much fun as it is for Grumpy and I just say that the ship is sinking. Sometimes having people who want to support the other side, even though they may be wrong, is at least enjoyable on that side to have that diversity of thought on the show. So that's what we're going to be looking for here. Wallstrom's okay on the third line, but not the fourth. It's true. Those two Swedes are too soft. I agree. Wallstrom isn't a Swede. He's an American from the Boston area. Yep. Big Islander fan. His Grumpy knows what he's talking about. He's always spot on.
And I just want to say one thing. Can you put that comment back up?
Yeah.
New York Jets. Watch out for the New York Jets this year. That's all I'm saying. Watch out for the New York Jets.
Paul W. says here, I like Duclair.
Yeah, I'm fine with the signing.
The Big Islander fan says here, Casper and Holmstrom. Could be
Could put eggs in his pants that would not break him during the whole game. That's for certain. Both of them allergic to wood.
Well, Casper and Holmstrom are the same. So Wade Flaherty.
Grumpy is spot on. Duclair's a nice player, will help the first line, but he isn't moving the needle, and that's the problem.
I think he does. I think he moves compared to last year. I think it's definitely
What's
better.
the difference? What's the difference? We're going to be at the same spot.
I think our first line will be better than it ever has been. I think our team in general will be worse this year. Grumpy, are you cameling down over there, Grumpy? What's going on?
Oh,
you get all worked
don't
up
worry about it.
Olympics.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry pretty little head about it.
Freedom front adventure there, Grumpy.
Even if the Islanders are headed to playoffs, not trading Nelson and Palmieri is a sin.
Yeah.
They must get the valuable resources for both guys. That's how they accelerate, and anything else they can. Absolutely.
And here's the thing. If you trade away Nelson and Palmieri, it's full-on rebuild at that point.
I'll qualify it this way. If they are a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference, I say, okay, stick with them.
3. Got to be top 3.
All right, top. I was going to say 3, but I'm like, there's no way they're going to be top 3. No,
they're not going to be top 4 either.
I know. I'm just saying that's the only way that you don't move those guys.
Do you think we're jumping over? You think we're jumping over the Rangers?
No, I don't think we're jumping over anyone.
Carolina. You think we're jumping over Carolina?
I've already told you that we're going to be battling for the 8th playoff seed in the Eastern Conference.
Freedom front adventure,
Grumpy, 100% the NHL was so much better when it was a man's game. TJ, please don't ignore the advances in equipment, training, nutrition, and training pioneered by the guys you don't respect.
Oh my God. It's not that I don't respect them. Here's the simple fact of it. It's comparing apples to oranges. Players are more skilled and talented at their craft now because exactly those reasons. There's more training that's involved in the game that wasn't there then. There's more preparation for the game. There's more game film. There's more studying of the game now than there ever was before. It's the reason why the play and the athlete and the product on the ice is better now than it was in years past. I'm not saying it's more entertaining. You can make an argument that bashing each other's head isn't entertaining. I like UFC as much as the next guy in boxing, so that's entertaining, and you don't really have that as much now. But I'm saying the quality on the ice and the true play of hockey is better now than what it was 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago.
Oh, you realize the physicality is what separates the men from the boys. It's not the ice capades, even though Gary Bettman wants it to be the ice capade. Oh my gosh, people say they're offended by fighting. They're offended by
newsflash. All sports are going to where they're playing where there's less physicality in all sports. That is the way professional sports and sports in general are going. You have the NHL, you have the PAs, the player associations, which are always going to lobby for more player safety to increase the longevity.
I don't give 2 shits about the player safety. They get paid so much money. They deserve to, it's the risk you get. You can't have both ways.
Let's be careful, huh? Okay, let's continue on.
It is.
You go, big Islander fan.
They were skilled. The game was played differently in the 80s. I guess TJ never heard of the Flying Frenchmen. You know who the Flying Frenchmen were? No, you don't.
This is the fella from the Rangers. What the hell is his
name? Wrong.
This is the guy who wore those fucking jeans that you always like to tell me.
No, about. Wrong. Buffalo Sabres, Gilbert Perreault, Rene Martin. Rick Martin and Rene Robert. Was it Rene Robert? The Flying Frenchman line for Buffalo. They were tremendous. And they scored a shitload of points. They were tremendous.
Great. And they played against goalies who stood straight up and down. I mean, like, they should be.
You realize the battle? It was a battle to even get to the goalie back then.
Oh, my God. And you can fucking score from the freaking red line because you're shooting on a goalie who's staying straight up and down and tries to make stops. That's why sometimes games are 7-4 because, hey, we just got goalies standing straight up and down. Now it's 7-4 because there's so much offense and so little defensive physicality. Goaltenders are much better, though. Goon.
Grumpy, what was your immediate reaction when Turgeon took a coho to the noggin by Hunter in 1993? Did you squeal like a banshee? It was a total cheap shot by Dale Hunter. I've never forgiven him, and I think that's the reason why the Islanders did not win the Stanley Cup that year.
Remember when we talked to, who was it who was mentioning that he was coached by Dale Hunter?
Well, Rich Pallon mentions, I think, something about it.
That's right. He knew Dale Hunter. He said to that day, he's like, oh, you didn't hear the whistle. Yeah, okay. Freedom Fun Adventure.
Yeah, didn't hear the whistle. 5 seconds. He was skating up, hands in the air. Woo! Yeah, come on, please. Freedom Fun Adventure says, TJ, the Islanders have a second buyout window and have to move on from someone to be cap compliant. Engvall is actually a buyout that is not painful. However, would Lou want to admit a mistake? Doesn't matter. Lou doesn't run the team anymore. If Patty Watt says this piece of shit is not going to play for me because he's so freaking soft, wave him. Wave his ass.
Goon.
Who is a more passionate Islanders fan, TJ or Grumpy? And is Dog Z spunky? Dog Z is absolutely spunky. I love visiting Dog Z because he gets a little scrambles going. He starts scrambling on the hardwood floor, and it's great to listen to because he's so excited.
I hate that mutt. Dog Z. Ugh.
I'm more of a passionate fan than TJ is.
I disagree with that statement.
Okay, that's fine.
You could care less. You're just saying, meh, let's just hope for some entertaining hockey. Let's string it out until the time period you die. I want to see you win a cup. I want to see the Islanders win a cup before you die, Grumpy. I'm more passionate than you are. You're happy just keeping shit status quo. Typical Grumpy.
You've never seen a championship team. I feel bad for you. You don't know what it's like to be root for a win.
I'll have hopefully another
you won't
40 years. 40 years.
They're not,
see maybe a championship team. You think another 40 years, another 4 decades of failure and misery?
Sure.
It's going to be like those fans who are like, I'm a Chicago Cubs fan. I haven't seen the Cubs win a pennant since,
well, they did win. They did win.
It was a long time for a while. Was
like
it
1918, I believe. Tinker to Evans to Chance. The double play combo.
It was like 100 fucking years. It was like 90 something years of the time period when they won. Who was the other team that has
Red Sox? The Red Sox too.
Who was that other? I mean, the Red Sox have won more recently, but who was that? Who is the other team that hasn't won like a World Series in like
Cleveland decades? Indians haven't won in forever.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about the old teams. Phillies have won. Pirates won in the 70s. I mean, I think Cleveland is like the longest of the original type teams.
The Chicago Cubs originally went from they were not appearing in a World Series from 1945 to 2016. Oh my God,
it's a long time.
Oof. I'm interested. Yeah, because I was about to say this is. I'll pull it up there, but yeah,
we can talk about that tomorrow. That'll actually be something fun to talk about.
Yeah. Long story short, though, it's I think in the next 40 years, I hope the Islanders maybe win a Stanley Cup. That'd make me happy. Dale
says Engvall is softer than Charmin toilet paper. He's softer than that even. He's, like I said, he's softer than like little butt wipes, the little pre-moistened wipes.
Here you go, Grumpy. Freedom Fund Adventure.
I like Islanders ownership very much for being willing to spend fantastic facilities, arena, and the outdoor space. However, they shouldn't trust in Lou. Should have been reeled in years ago. True.
I think there's a reason why they are trusting in Lou. And I think there's a reason why they are putting a whole bunch of dollars in. I think they're businessmen that have a plan in mind for this. That's what I think. JP Grump.
Spot Track is pretty good. Not as good as Cap Friendly, but not too bad.
Yeah, I agree. Wade Flaherty says here, Holmstrom and Engvall stink. Both of them should be sent to the moon. Dale S. said too many long-term deals. Yep. Deals. That inbred Simon Holmstrom. Grumpy. There it is. It's Wade.
Did I say that?
Yeah, you did. Freedom Fund Adventure says
Sorry, Simon.
TJ is definitely the Warden's kid.
Absolutely. He's Warden Jr. He's like the Warden on steroids.
By
the way, X, I'll talk to you after the show, and I'm going to tell you today was the day. And he'll know what I'm talking about. Okay. Freedom Fund Adventure goes, TJ's canceling his trip if he can't see his mommy. TJ thinks not is worth it if only Grumpy is there. Well, she'll be back on Sunday. So he will get to see her. She'll get to see a little sunny boy. He'll come in. He'll drop his pile of shit right in the living room. We just drop it there, and he'll just work out of that bag as opposed to moving up to the bedroom.
Continue along, Grumpy.
Goon says, how is it that all these pussy baseballers are getting injured left and right? Meanwhile, the manly men of the NHL beat the poop out of each other every game, and injuries are few and far between.
Yep. Good question.
They're
Good
tough.
question. Baseball players. 2 hours and 9 freaking innings. What a joke. For a 9-inning game. What a joke. And then Michael Boucher says this organization is totally delusional if they think that they have a chance. Stop the bullshit and rebuild.
Yes.
Start the rebuild. Yep.
True.
Freedom Fund Adventure says, so based on TJ's answers, he'll be serving us up some more shit stew. And he gets angry.
Bringing on all his little buddies. That's what he does.
Do you guys see the videos of Rempe fight training? Yes, with LaCroix. Islanders have 0 answers. That's Lou's fault. The Islanders players are injured and targeted. Lou is to blame. Groupie Grump.
Engvall is the most useless, bland, vanilla player I've ever seen play the sport. Send him to the East Coast League.
And ECHL. And then
One side, agree, Freedom Front Adventure.
They'll have no response.
No response.
Yeah, we'll just get bullied around. Freedom Front Adventure says Dogsy over TJ.
Well,
that's fine.
Well, Dogsy is definitely more lovable. He's a lovable little poochie. He's
all righty, Grumpy. Let's wrap things
who was
up.
putting up those comments? Was X putting up those comments? Because there was a lot of comments.
But let's go ahead, Grumpy. Let's wrap things up. Grumpy, what do you want to say before we wrap things up here today?
I want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens, and even those who don't, from TJ, the grumpy old man, and son X, and dog Z, and fiance Y, and the warden, and the lovely Paige.
Thank you so much, everybody, for watching the show. We'll be live with you guys, not next Saturday, but the Saturday after. I'll be traveling to the Grumpy Estates this next Saturday. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. We'll be live with you guys, not next Saturday, but the Saturday after. Thanks for all the topics. You know, they're the dog days of summer. We're going to get some guests on the show here coming up soon. Thank you, Grumpy. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And we'll see you guys, not next Saturday, but the Saturday after. Thank you.